Hi, thanks for joining me for another playthrough of Ex Novo. So, over the last few days, I've decided to try something new. What I'm starting to do is, I'll occasionally record a video of a playthrough of one of the districts that I'm up to. But the last few days, I've gone through 3 districts. District of Haedligh, District of Ashfall and the District of Beach Castle, and each 3 of them are very different. I previously talked about Haedligh and Haran being deserted places because of the extreme heat that they were having through this area. But I've decided to look at this again and I guess reimagine it. Recently my wife and I had some relatives who went to a place called Coober Pedy. Coober Pedy is in the middle of Australia and it's a very hot, very dry, arid place which has a booming mining industry. And the people of Coober Pedy, they live underground. So I've decided that I'll actually include that as part of Haedligh and Haran and have a booming mining industry in here. Haran and Haedligh both look at things very differently. Haran is... No, they don't like outsiders too much. They like to keep to themselves. Whereas Haedligh, they're a bit more open to people coming and exploring, especially since they lost a lot of their population, well, the youth anyway, through to places like going to Dungannon, which is a thriving military district. It's going to be very interesting to see how their 2 different approaches, mainly how what happens in Haedligh possibly informs what happens in Haran, and I guess vice versa. So when I played through Haedligh, I made these changes to say mining exploration through Haedligh and Haran. The booming economy brings workers from all areas. Haran will only let in vetted workers. They're, once again, very protective of their own little district here. My wife made a comment this morning. She walked through and she looked at this map and she says, "That's a very dark place you have, like this world." And I said, what gives you that impression? She said, "By looking at your map, the names of places, it emanates a dark world." And that was very, very interesting hearing that from my wife, who hasn't seen any of these videos but has only looked at the map because I got them sitting here open in front of the computer and this is where I record stuff. And I thought that was very I thought that was very deep for her to say that by looking at the map. So I'm trying to consciously possibly shift some things so it isn't as dark. But anyway, let's move on. So that was Haedligh, and that's what's happening there. In Ashfall, a large tower is built and paid for by Dungannon military. The tower is manned 24/7 and offers protection. Muffled laughs now refer to Ashfall as Dungannon West. So there's some other areas here like Red Hawk and Arrowen, I guess even Falkirk, Blackrock, that are looking at what's happening at Ashfall, and they can see that Dungannon are going to start to slowly try to expand their territory. But some interesting developments over here in Coldwater, where they are trying to stop people from crossing over from Arramore and Moseley, Bluefields, Longdale. Weeman sort of stay to himself, so does Arcton. But they're trying to prevent people from coming over and starting to, I don't know if they're trying to block trade off, but just people trying to leave that area, trying to come across. So it'll be interesting to see whether the people of Coldwater see what's happening in Ashfall and go, hey, we wouldn't mind some of that protection as well. And that way you'd also have the river to access for possibly further expansion or for trade, or it might even then start to give them some more access to some of the food bowl here, because obviously a military marches on its stomach. That's going to be an interesting development. For something completely different, we have Little Beach Castle. So Beach Castle is up here. In the last playthrough that I did, a tornado made landfall through Beach Castle and it destroyed the castle, which is, I guess, what it's called, Beach Castle. And it was a beautiful monument. And this area, once again, this area up here is a nice, peaceful, calm area. They have access to the river, they have access to the ocean, but they're away from all the conflict that goes on around here in the main part of the map. Well, I guess you could say the developed part of the map. There was once a rift between East Hollow and Beach Castle. This bridge here was actually ripped down, destroyed on the Beach Castle side, and the people from East Hollow also destroyed this part here. In my latest playthrough, significant damage to infrastructure and housing after the hurricane, which happened in Beach Castle. It is estimated 25% of the population were killed. Actually, that's a large percentage. Maybe I should change that to, I don't know, maybe we should change that to, maybe we should change it to 5%, because it's not a heavily populated place. So we're going to make that 5%. No, I just did a random dice roll for that percentage. Of the population were killed. Sympathy from those who are returning to East Hollow, offer support and assistance, and old rivalries fall to make way for peace. So once again, this rivalry that they had and the ripping down the bridge, the people of East Hollow are now restoring this bridge and offering support to Beach Castle. This has melted a lot of tension here. I actually really like this, the rebuilding that's happening here, and I hope that ties get strengthened here and that the influence from this area, like I said, this is a nice little peaceful area at the top here. I hope that flows through to East Hollow. And once again, East Hollow had issues with an influence within the government, which was a negative thing for the people of East Hollow, and became a very, very dark and dangerous place. A lot of people left here as well and started to start to search for places to go. So once the influence was eradicated from East Hollow started to become a peaceful area again, and a lot of the expats from various areas here, which is sort of funny to think that they're going into a more of a, not a war-torn, but there's also tensions down here. So no matter where they're going, they're still going into a place with tension. But they're returned now back to this peaceful little place that East Hollow used to be, and peace is returning. So that's my playthrough of these three districts. Our next district is actually going to be Leafside over here. So we really haven't explored this area of the map too much, except for Weeman, and we talked about Weeman and Arct and what's going on there. So be interesting to see what happens in Leafside. Once again, I'm going to try to make this more positive. But then again, I was listening to Man Alone and a few other channels, and they talk about how solo role-playing also allows for the shadow of the self to emerge and to play through things. Yeah, and I totally agree with it. And I know maybe I have a problem with the other. Maybe a little bit of psychology in there. I don't want this to be as dark as what it previously was. So let's change this and let's start to bring some light into play. Thank you very much for joining me. And please join me for my next episode where we go to Leafside. Thank you.